It's 2023.
Holy cow.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Pod of Thrones audience. Hopefully you're still out there.
I hope so.
You know, I find that when a podcast goes fallow, I mean, I rarely do I actually take the time to unsubscribe from one because it's not hurting anything just sitting there. So hopefully all the people that subscribed before are still around. Yeah. I mean, you really have to actively go and do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope we didn't make the cut. I mean, I hope we made the cut.
Okay.
I hope we made the cut.
I'm still subscribed to a handful that I don't think are ever coming back, but you know, if it's been years, maybe I'll take it off the list once in a while, but,
well, it hasn't been years.
It has not been years, but it has been, you know, I should have looked. When was our last podcast, do you think?
August.
You know, you might be right. I think at the very least, you're very, very close. Let's see. Pod of Thrones on my own list. Oh, see, now that's been relegated to my inactive podcast list.
Oh, no.
I know.
Oh, your own podcast.
Yeah, oh my God, you're right. August 10th, 2022 was the last published episode.
Wow.
Which was the second to last section of Westworld stuff that we were talking about.
Right.
So a lot's happened since then. Let's talk about it.
Okay.
We've had a few people reach out and express concern, and I've explained a little bit about what's going on, but not too much detail. I think from a very basic sense, life's been kind of busy and stressful and not always easy, from the little things like, you know, fucking crazy inflation and
right,
having teenagers and a house and things to worry about, to some other really intense things. You yourself had a very, very busy schedule for the last number of months.
Right. So, if you, I don't know I don't know how much we've talked about my personal situations on this podcast, but, to catch you up, I have a mom or had a mom that, was quite a handful.
Yeah.
And then she started showing signs of dementia over the past, probably ever. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we've talked about that part.
So, pause, please. Hello.
Okay, quick pause there. Kids are home. So you were saying your mom started showing signs of dementia, and I was saying that I don't think we've talked about that on the podcast.
Okay,
before.
right. So, I mean, long story short, all my life, my mom's been an alcoholic and addict of one sort or another.
Yep.
And we've had a very bad relationship at times. And then when she was sober, we would have a great relationship. She's a really great person when she's sober. When she's not, she's crazy. But since I have been taking care of her, she hasn't had the opportunity to not be sober. I have kept her sober in the sense that it's kind of a controlled sober, because she had a lot of pain that she needed hydrocodone for, but I got her into a place that would hold her, you know, they had like a med room that would dispense her medication. So she couldn't overdose. She couldn't abuse it in any way, shape, or form. So that was working out until she started getting dementia and things. She would call me all the time. I would have to go out there I mean, at the start, I was only going out there once a week.
Well, and not counting.
And it's an hour drive.
Southern California traffic, it's probably an hour drive on average.
It's an hour drive each way. And so it was taking a lot of my time. I started going, in the end, I had to start seeing her at least every other day. So I would be driving out there every other day to just keep her under control. Like
assure her that there aren't children in her corner staring at her.
She started having hallucinations and that she, you know, started thinking she was taking care of children and things like that. And she was in an assisted living home, you know. So there was no children or puppies or cats or anything that she was seeing. And she would also tell me that she was being abused. Like somebody would come into her room in the middle of the night and beat her, or there were bugs all over the place. I mean, you know, and there weren't. But these people were kind and took care of her and dealt with her shit because she would get mean. But then she got to the point where she couldn't stay there because they don't take care of dementia patients. And
well, but also she had fallen a few
Oh, yeah,
times.
yeah. She fell 3 times.
One
She
time
started.
was someone else's fault, but a couple times were just old
Yeah,
person.
there was a lot
Yeah.
over the last year. She had broken 3 bones. You know, I can't even remember all the things that had happened, but it was overwhelming to say the least and very greatly affecting my mental health.
Mhm.
But there was nobody else to take care of her.
Right.
There was nobody else to make these decisions for her. There was nobody else stepping up. So, I had to.
And you couldn't bring her here because you have a job.
I couldn't bring her
Or you
here because I have a
can't be her
job,
full-time
but
care.
I wanted to many
Yeah,
times
I know,
because I
you
felt
talked
so
about
bad for her because she was lonely and scared,
Right.
but she was on like 20 medications a day at different times a day, and
She had a lot of pills.
she would get like, I don't know what she would do, but some crazy shit was happening. She didn't tell me the extent of what her symptoms were, but it got to the point where it was apparent, and then all of her falls,
Right.
landed her in the hospital each time. And then right from the last hospital, after she broke her ankle for the second time, I had found her a memory care place that could take her. It wasn't great by any means, but the people were nice.
Even further away.
Even further away, right? But there was nothing else available.
Right.
She's on a program for assisted living waiver where she gets cheaper rent. So you have to go where there is a place available.
Right.
I had found her a place that was beautiful. It was a private house. There was no more than 6 people. She would have her own room. There was like flowers out back, it was super close within 10 minutes. And then like the day we were supposed to go and take care of things, she broke her ankle. So we lost that beautiful place.
Yep.
And then she ended up in this it looked like a sanitarium, and it's under lockdown. You can't go out. And to make matters worse, this place did not have a working elevator. They were renovating the elevator when we moved in. She's on the 2nd floor. There's no way for her. She can't take the stairs, but there's no way for her to even get outside.
Well,
they have a patio they could go out on, but
when you're dealing with dementia and Alzheimer's patients, you do kind of have to keep them on lockdown, though, because anything could happen. I don't exactly blame them.
But this wasn't fun lockdown.
What's fun lockdown?
They didn't make it nice. And the reason is, again, for dementia patients, you can't put shit on the walls. You can't have any nails. You can't have anything that's dangerous.
Right.
You can't have tacks. You can't have anything. So all the walls are just like, I feel like they were like a light green color. But she would just lay on her bed. Yeah. And she was only there for like, I don't know, I want to say a week and a half. I don't even know. Everything is so.
It was a little longer than that.
A month? Almost less than a month.
Probably 2.5 to 3 weeks.
And they had already called the ambulance twice for her. Once because they found her down in the bathroom doorway. So they took her to the hospital, but found nothing wrong, brought her back. And then a few days later, she called 911 herself, or she told them to call 911 because she wanted to leave and they were keeping her captive, all this stuff, which this has happened before. And it had happened in the hospital or the skilled nursing facility that she had just come from. She called 911 because they were keeping her captive, and there were people there beating people and stuff, Crazy.
Not cool, but also, I can't imagine she's the first one with dementia or Alzheimer's.
Most people don't have their own phones. They have to take them away.
Well, there is that.
And they told me that.
They did in the end, right?
She did not have a phone at the hospital.
Oh, yeah.
So after all of these two things had happened, I get a call just a few days after that one too. And it's the nurses there saying, we called an ambulance for your mom. She's complaining of having trouble breathing. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Here we go again. So I was like, she'll be out in no time, but I had a feeling I should go to the hospital. So I did. And I went to emergency with her, and they had a mask on her that was so big, like what do you call them?
I think it was a BiPAP, right?
A BiPAP, yeah. Right.
Breathing machine.
Mask, yeah. On her that was so big that whenever she breathed, it would go every time she breathed out.
I wish you guys, if this was a video podcast, you'd also see what Jennifer's flapping her fingers like they're gills on the side of her face.
So I was like, can you please get a mask? So what was happening was her oxygen level, she couldn't maintain on her own. When she came in, she was like 70% oxygen, which is really bad.
Right.
And with the mask on, she was up to like 90, 92, but the mask was clearly too big and not working properly. And I was like, can you please get a mask for her that fits? They're like, I'm sorry, we don't have any medium masks. We can try a small, which is like a child size. So we get the small one, and I don't know, it's kind of better. But clearly it's too small and uncomfortable. So, but I had to go back to work. I think I'd gone there in the morning, I think. I don't know when it was, but I had to go back to work. My mom was fine. She was like talking sort of, because she couldn't really talk with the mask on, but she was coherent. And I told her, Mom, I have to go back to work. Is that okay? Are you okay? And she said, oh yeah, fine. And the lady was going to get her something to eat, blah, 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 blah. So she's in emergency.
Oh, they couldn't find a bed for her.
They didn't have a bed for her. She stayed in emergency in a fucking like side area for 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
2 days. Anyway.
Healthcare.
I went back and saw her the next day, and it was the same thing. But by then, I believe by then, they had decided to put her on one of those nose oxygen things.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she was doing better. We could talk, and she was still hallucinating. And of course, the doctors and nurses are like, "Does she hallucinate?" I'm like, "Yeah, she has dementia, you fools." Look at her chart.
I hope you said exactly that. No,
I left the fools off. But her doctor asked me at one point, he called me and told me all the situation. They're like, we couldn't find anything wrong or any reason why your mom would suddenly start not being able to breathe. Because all the time before this, every time I go to the doctor with her, because I had to take her to all her doctor's appointments, which was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been to the doctor myself because I'm so sick of going to the doctors. Her oxygen was normal.
Yeah.
It was 98%, 99%. And all of a sudden this is happening. I don't know why. My guess is that she was just too inactive. She wasn't getting out. She wasn't walking. Yeah. When you stop moving, you die.
Right. That's why some people say they're never going to retire fully, right?
Right.
So got to keep doing something.
She would just lay there on the bed, and she would only like move around when they would make her, and that would be not very often. Anyway, they said she had fluid on her lungs,
mm-hmm.
which they put her on medicine to get that all out, which I guess it worked, but she still couldn't maintain her oxygen. And so they were like, well, we don't know what to do. Let's take a culture. I never knew the results because they didn't tell me. And they kept trying to take her off the oxygen. She was doing great. She was eating, talking. We were like, she was there for 5 days, I think. So I went on I went on a day where she was doing really well. They were like, oh yeah, she ate all of her breakfast. We're going to try and take her off her oxygen again tomorrow morning. So I was like, great. And my mom's like, yeah, I'm doing really well. Thanks for, she said she wasn't even hallucinating that much.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to warn you that could be a sign.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd seen
that
before.
I knew it was a sign.
Yeah.
But the next day I was like, I'm going to go after work. I had to work. Sorry, I have ice in my mouth now. I'll go after work and see her. As I called in the morning and talked to the nurse. Or no, I'm sorry, I talked to the nurse the night before. And I said, you guys will call me if anything changes, right? And she's like, yeah. So the next day I did my work, came home. I had to do a bunch of weird, stupid stuff with cars. I had to go back and forth. But I was in Anaheim earlier that day because I had to go and pick something up. And I was going to go see her. And I'm like, no, they would have called if she was doing poorly. I'm going to go and finish my work and take this truck back to where it needs to be, blah, 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 blah.
Anaheim being much, much closer to her
where she was.
Yeah, than our home area.
Right. And so I finished up what I had to do. And at like 4:00 in the afternoon, I get a call from the doctor asking me, or telling me, she still can't come off the oxygen. I know she's a do not resuscitate patient because we had already discussed that. I think it's time to talk about like hospice options. Do we just keep her comfortable? And I was like, okay, well, I can come talk to you. I'm on my way there anyway. And he said, great, let's, talk when you get here. So I get in the car. It takes me an hour and a half to get there because it's raining.
It's California.
It's
rush hour.
It's traffic. It's rush hour.
Yep.
Like people getting off work.
Yep.
So I finally get there and the doctor's busy, of course, but he's still there. I just barely made it because he said he was going to be there till 5:30. I made it at like 5:27. So the doctor's busy and I said, okay, well, I told the nurse he wanted to talk to me about my mom, Louise, and they kind of like acknowledged that it was an important thing. Okay, we'll have the doctor come see you as soon as he can. And I said, okay, should I just go into my mom's room then and wait in there? And they said yes. I get in my mom's room and she looks like she is on the verge of death. Her neck is like wrenched to the side because the tube for the BiPAP, they put the mask back on her because she would pull the tubes out of her nose. And the mask is so small that it's cutting off her, like it's pressing against her lips. Her lips are sealed shut. She can't open her mouth at all. So she's having to breathe all through her nose. And it's like super tight. And then the hose is pulling her face to the side. And she has no covers on. All she has on is her, hospital gown. And she's freezing cold. Like she felt like she was already dead. Her skin was so cold.
Yeah, the lack of blankets thing. Like
I know
she wasn't in hospice yet, but the hospice mentality is make them comfortable.
Right.
And if you think she's going that direction, can't she at least have some blankets?
Or even just she's a patient. She's freezing and she can't talk.
I mean, it's the hospital for sure. I mean, the couple times I've had to stay overnight in a hospital, like people wouldn't shut up about the fucking blankets. I'm like, no, I'm fine. But thank you for offering me a blanket. I really just want to sleep.
And she had one of the blankets that I had brought sitting right in the chair next to her.
Yeah,
I was so mad, so mad, and I fixed the hose so that she could turn her neck. And I made her look at me, because she was really not coherent. And I kind of woke her up and jostled her, got her all warm again because I put the blanket on her and rubbed her legs and arms. And she looked in my eyes and we acknowledged each other. And I was like, I'm so sorry I wasn't here earlier. And she was kind of like, And I said, Mom, I'm going to try and get them to take this thing off of you and put the nose air back on. I know this is super uncomfortable and you wouldn't want this. So I ran out in the hallway and I'm like, can you please at least get this stupid mask off so I can have some last words with my mother? Because she's clearly dying.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, yeah. This fucking guy, this fucking nurse was in there. And this fucking guy, I told him, and he's like, oh, well, I have to get the respiratory guy, and that's going to happen after they serve dinner.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm like, dinner? My mom can't eat. And so nobody came. I was there with her for like, I don't know, another 10 minutes. Nobody came. And then I went out to the nurse again, another nurse came in. This lady was really nice, but she was clearly not. I think she was like a CNA or maybe just above that. I don't know. Anyway, she was much, much nicer and said, of course, I think she went and told the doctor. And then like 2 minutes later, the respiratory guy came in. And at that point, she was, oh, wait a minute. I got to back up a little bit. So while I'm waiting for all of these people to do something, I'm adjusting her mask, trying to make it so she can open her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to pull it down some, because it's pressed against her lips. And finally I got it to a point where she could open her mouth, but then she was kind of like trying to talk or just making like, she couldn't move her arms or her legs. All of that was new,
Right.
This is new.
Not a good sign.
Not that, I mean, like when I got there, she couldn't move at all. Like,
yeah.
I'm like adjusting. And then I get a call from Jeff asking me something ridiculous. And I'm like,
well, it was, we were out of dog food and
right.
Sometimes you put it somewhere and you don't tell me where it is. And then I was just like, I gotta find the dog food. And I didn't realize what you were in the middle of. Right. Exactly.
He thought I was just talking to the doctor.
I mean, you had brought your daughter with you and you were going to do a visit and you mentioned the hospice thing, but obviously I did not know.
Right.
That
right. Was like, I didn't know either. Anyway.
Seconds to go.
So, I looked at her mask and I realized I had pinched off her nose. She had her mouth open, but then she started crashing. Like I moved them. I was like, oh my God, Mom, I'm pinching your nose off. So I like moved the mask back up and she started crashing. She looked at me. We looked in each other's eyes and I was like, I'm so sorry. And I love you. And mom. And I could see her going. I could see it. And she locked eyes with me one more time. And her eyes like widened. And then she like was gone, but she like I could see in her eyes that she was gone, but she was still breathing. The fucking respiratory guy comes in and her head's flopping around in my hand because I'm like, Mom. I'm like moving her head, trying to wake her up, like get her back. Because I thought maybe she didn't just die. Maybe she's just like going to die and I can wake her up somehow. Because I didn't want her to die like that. I wanted her to be able to talk to me or at least just not be so uncomfortable. The fucking doctor comes in and I wasn't sure that she was dead because she was still breathing. The respiratory guy comes in, he puts the thing in her nose finally. And she's still kind of breathing, but I could tell that he looked at her and that he knew she was gone because he was like, oh. And then he kind of left. In comes the doctor and I was like, I think she's gone already. She's breathing, but she's not here. And he's like, well, let me get her. We'll just make her comfortable. Let me get a morphine order. I'm like, what? She wasn't on morphine already? So I'm looking at her and I'm sitting with her and I'm calling her name. And of course, she's not responding or looking at me at all because she's dead. And I've got, did I say what the a-hole nurse did?
The one who just started like immediately trying to clean up the room.
Right. He comes in and I'm like, I think she's gone. I think she's gone. And then he like won't say it. He won't say anything. But I said, go tell the doctor he doesn't need morphine anymore because my mom's dead. And he's like, oh, you want me to go tell it? I'm like, yes.
You want me to go tell the doctor that your mom might be dead?
Right. So.
Jesus.
My daughter wasn't with me, by the way.
I thought she was.
No. Later on, my ex brought her and my son. They were on the way.
He was bringing them, but they missed. Okay.
To say goodbye to her. So in comes the doctor and they're like, I'm so sorry for your loss, blah, 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 blah. She's still breathing. Like she's still very slowly taking like those kind of breaths, you know?
Oh.
It was really weird. So they finally like all leave. They, one of the nice nurse or whatever she was, she's like, I'll give you, some time. And then just a few minutes later, in comes asshole nurse, and he wants to like clean her up or something. She looked fine, aside from being dead.
Yeah.
She wasn't like pooping or anything yet.
Jesus.
But then he's like, I'm like, no, don't do anything. And so he goes and he starts emptying the trash can. And then like when he goes to put the new trash can in, he's flapping the bag. Like I'm sitting there bawling my eyes out and he's like opening, with the fucking trash bag. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe this fucking guy.
Yep.
So yeah, that all happened. That happened.
Yep.
Oh, and then about an hour later, I leave. She's in the room alone. And like she had no way to call for a nurse or anything because she first of all, she couldn't move.
Can't use the call button if you can't move.
Use the call button. But also she couldn't figure out anything. Like she couldn't, the whole time in all the hospitals, she could never figure out how to use the nurse's call button. And every time I would tell her to do it, she'd be like, nobody's going to come. They don't come. She was right. Most of the time they didn't come. But anyway, they called me at home like 2 hours later. I don't know if it was exactly 2 hours, but it was at least 2 hours. It might have been more. And asked me if anybody's coming to see her. And I'm like, what? No. I'm thinking my mom she's still laying there. Like people are passing by.
I mean, if they're going to just leave her in the room for a couple hours, maybe you didn't need to wipe the trash can. Like,
right. They didn't need to empty the trash can immediately.
It really seemed more like a situation where like, all right, she's dead. Get her out of here.
They were trying to clean things up for people that were coming to see her.
Jeez.
That guy was, right. It's not like the place, it was fine. It wasn't dirty.
Stage the room. My God.
But do it after I'm like not right after she died.
When you and I are like 90, let's just take a rocket to the sun.
Yes.
That'd be the way to go.
Right. So that's all done. And that's why we're doing this podcast right now.
Well, and you've had, you were working on her arrangements and stuff too, of course. And then your weirdo brothers start crawling out of the woodwork. Ugh, I don't want to. But anyway, well, so what happened, back shortly after our last episode. Okay, now let's be honest. The fact that we podcast at all, and I've had to remind you about this a few times, is 100% your fault. You were the one that bought the first microphone.
No, because you were doing it already.
No, I wasn't.
Well, you said you wanted it. Like I would just pick that out. I didn't buy the first microphone.
You bought a microphone and said you should do a podcast. And then I was like, well, what am I going to do it about? And, it came to like us just seeing what happened if we sat down in front of a microphone. That was the kid-free weekend.
Right.
So it's all your fault. is what I'm saying. But
Okay.
but sometimes you would go through phases where you're like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I'm like, well, I mean, if you're not
'Cause it's
sure,
like,
then,
it's work. It's a lot of work for you to edit,
well, don't worry about me, lady.
and my mental health sometimes
Right. Well,
prevents me from being able to do much at all.
right. Totally understandable. But I always said, if you aren't sure if you want to do it, then let's just take a couple weeks and whatever. But if you really don't want to do it anymore, okay, I'm not going to try to force you to podcast. And then one day in mid-August of 2022, you said, I don't want to do podcasts anymore.
Uh-huh.
And I said, okay. And my request was like, can we do like a farewell podcast, something? And we also had one episode of Westworld to cover. And you said, okay, but we never really got around to it because your life was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And,
I wasn't in a good place.
and so
I'm not in a good place now, but I'm a little more capable.
So I was biding my time, and doing other things. But then you did say we were out to lunch with some friends and you were like, I don't know, maybe podcast again. And of course I'm like, what? And got all excited.
And here we are.
But the state of the podcast, does that mean we're back? Are you still unsure? Inquiring minds want to know.
I mean, I don't know. I'm unsure. I don't feel like I can commit to being back, but I kind of feel like
Sometimes
right
you miss
now
it.
I want to say yes, we're back, but I can't.
Hey, look, we've
I
often
can't
been
guarantee what my mental state is going to be.
we have often been in a regular podcast. I think we're probably known for that.
Mm-hmm. Oh wait, I'm sure there's already one called The Irregular Podcast, but we should.
I should update the description of the show anyway. Maybe I'll put an irregular podcast into that. So, maybe we're back. Maybe we're kind of back. Great.
Yep.
I love doing this with you because it's just fun to talk to you about nerdy shit and sometimes like issues shit that comes up out of our nerdy shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I like looking at you, even if I can only see part of your face.
Yep.
Through the pop filter on the microphone. But I just love talking to you. And it's organized talking is just one of many ways to do that. So
Organized talking.
That's what a podcast is, right?
That's another good name. Organized talking.
Organized, somewhat scheduled conversations.
Organized, irregular podcast.
And I love watching stuff with you still. So that's always on my agenda.
Oh, that's my other problem is that
You're having a hard time sitting still.
I've lost interest in television. Nothing is grabbing me.
Well, we did watch House of the Dragon pretty faithfully.
Mm-hmm.
But we were not podcasting at that point.
I could have, you want to talk about that?
Well, if you're ready.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about what we missed since we've been gone. We did.
I feel like we podcasted about House of the Dragon.
No, ma'am.
I feel like we talked about Matt Smith.
You've talked about Matt Smith extensively. Well, we've talked about it before, how much you hate his face.
Yeah.
But we did not do any House of the Dragon recordings.
Okay.
When we left off, we were one episode away from the end of Westworld. Westworld ended in a bloodbath. Almost everybody died. I think Dolores made it back into the system.
Yeah. Now she is Rehoboam.
No, it wasn't Rehoboam. It was whatever they called their special heaven for robots.
Oh, yeah.
Don't remember that right now because it's been a long time.
It was a crazy ending. For not having... No, I mean,
it was almost a conclusion, except they did leave it open-ended of what exactly is Dolores' plan, what's going to be the end game for these. I mean, they're all living in the Hoover Dam, but no one's like supervising it anymore because
it'll just be like
everyone in charge of those companies died or killed themselves.
Yeah. Who knows?
Someone's trying to call me. That can't happen during a podcast. But then it turned out not to matter because HBO canceled it.
Right.
Oh, man. I mean, I've been a big HBO booster for many years now, but fuck, this merger with Discovery. and the Discovery guy is now the CEO, and he's cutting HBO shit left and right. They're just randomly taking things off of HBO Max as some means of like saving money. Westworld's not on there anymore. You can't go back and watch the old seasons of Westworld anymore.
Lame.
They've been canceling other projects. There was these famous headlines about how there's a Batgirl movie, I think, that was in the can, like ready to go.
Now,
and they canceled it because they could make it a tax write-off.
were they losing too much money? Were they not making enough money before?
Oh, it's always about not making enough. They're not losing money. It's one of those fucking
making
stockholder
enough
things.
money. So they take HBO
Uh-huh.
and they merge with Discovery.
Uh-huh.
And Discovery guy, because they have such a great audience,
I guess.
such a large audience, somebody decides they're going to bring this Discovery CEO guy over to HBO,
Mm-hmm.
who's doing really well, or should be.
Should be. I mean, look, they're not, I don't think they're operating at a loss, right?
I don't know, but
I don't think so.
the small guy is going to come over and fix things for HBO because he knows what's best.
I guess. It's hard to believe. And HBO Max itself is probably going away, the service we subscribe to, because they're going to make a different, like, HBO Discovery service instead or something. Like, they're just changing stuff for the sake of changing stuff in many cases. And it's a bit of a bummer. But yeah, so
then let's cut it.
Well, we'll talk about that. No final season of Westworld. That's what we know for sure. Should we cut HBO out of our lives? I don't know. I mean, right now there's still a lot of good stuff on the app that we've been watching, including House of the Dragon. So we need to evaluate that and see what's on the horizon. I still want to go back to his Dark Materials, which we did not finish or even really talk about on this show. But you were kind of enjoying the first season, but then
I don't know.
Kind of fell out, but you don't have much interest in any TV right now, so
Right.
we'll see. But we did watch House of the Dragon. Let's just do a few minutes on that, because at some point, if we are back in this, I think we owe our audience the episode by episode analysis and recap. Maybe a couple, check in with Lore Master Kevin again, because he can tell us a thing or two that we don't understand, which there definitely were some things. How did you feel about the show?
It was entertaining. It was okay. It was good. It was good.
Mm-hmm.
I still longed for the feeling that Game of Thrones gave me.
Depression?
No, whatever.
Rage?
I don't know. I don't know what feeling it was.
Didn't feel as epic as Game of Thrones. It's a sort of a smaller,
Maybe.
closer knit,
Yeah.
cast of characters that are infighting instead of these many houses. And
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
I think season 2 will probably fix that problem for you, as there's going to be full out war, it would seem.
I don't enjoy
I really
war.
enjoyed House of the Dragon. There was some pretty awful graphic stuff, like that first C-section that we had to bear witness to in the first episode, just blood. Just, did we have to see all that? Like sometimes you could just tell us and not show us. Viserys Targaryen was a fascinating character, and his physical decay was,
I really liked him. Yeah,
super gross.
That was awesome.
And he was trying to make a principled decision, and sort of one of a few feminists in the world that was like, my daughter can rule, it's going to be okay. But he wasn't handling it super great. But
Right. Well, that's because he started getting sick.
And he was getting sick and then losing power sort of in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of likable characters on that show. That is sort of a problem.
Yeah.
I think
I don't like any of the characters except for him, and now he's dead.
Well, Rhaenyra, is she okay?
I don't like her.
I kind of feel like she's the closest thing we have to a hero, though. It's not Alicent. Alicent fucking covering up for her kids,
Yeah,
fucking
I like
rapes,
Rhaenyra more than Alicent. Alicent's
letting a murderer jerk off to her feet. That was weird.
She's trying to do what's right for the kingdom, and she thinks that she
yeah.
was told that.
Her dad is really like the ultimate source of all these problems. But she's trying to keep it together.
She's trying to keep it. She thinks she's doing what's right, and she believes that Viserys told her.
Right. That final misunderstanding. I mean, it was almost like 80s sitcom level, like wacky circumstances where like they're finally getting along again. And then Viserys says the wrong thing to the wrong person. And now fucking war.
Right. They were going to be best friends, Viserys or Rhaenyra and
they were on the mend.
What's her name?
Like Daemon did a couple cool things in those episodes, but he was also like
Matt Damon.
He was, but he was all, I don't know if it's Damon or Daemon. I don't know why I want to say Daemon so badly, but like he was also really creepy with his teenage niece.
He's a disgusting pig.
Right.
I don't like him whatsoever with his forehead. I don't like him.
I feel like we're supposed to be rooting for him at a certain point because he is Rhaenyra's like protector and she's supposed to be our hero. But he's also kind of a monster.
I don't like him.
Yep.
I don't like Matt Damon.
Yeah, so that's the roughest part of the show. I think we're going to come to like maybe Rhaenyra's kids. Like they seem mostly okay.
The ones that aren't Targaryen?
Right. The ones that have brown hair because they are of strong blood.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they seem like okay, sort of down to earth people, except the one that died. Yeah, I don't know. So the show is a sort of a rough watch at times.
Oh, you mean the one that
the dragon dogfight.
What's his name? The kid? Is it Viserys? Is his name Viserys?
Aemond, the guy with the blue eye.
Right, the patch.
He was riding the big dragon.
Aemon killed her son. Or
right, he by accident, sort of. He was like fucking with him and wasn't actually going to kill him.
What did he think was going to happen?
He was just being a bully, but then the dragons themselves lost control of themselves. And he lost control of his dragon, and now the kid is dead.
Yep.
I don't remember all the names right now, but I think maybe Jace.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Might have been Jace.
Jace
Targaryen got killed.
Mm-hmm.
Right at the end, so that lit up Rhaenyra's fire.
Whoa!
And now it's going to be all hell will break loose.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we do need someone to really root for. And I want to root for Rhaenyra. She's the closest I think we've got in terms of the adult characters, but woof.
I mean, maybe we'll get somebody else.
Maybe. We need a hero.
We need a hero.
That's right. But I'm excited to watch it. There's also in development now a snow show.
I know.
You know about the snow show?
I do know about the snow show.
How do you feel about the snow show?
I feel like it's a little bit cheesy.
Why cheesy?
I haven't heard anything about it. I just know that Jon Snow's doing a spinoff.
Yep.
It sounds funny just to say that.
Again, like the Ropers when they left Three's Company. Go back to the sitcoms. Yeah. Well, look, I would have been super excited for an Arya spinoff because one, I love the character, but also it would have been. She could
pull off a spinoff.
She totally could pull off a spinoff, but what would have been great about her was that she was just going to go explore the world.
I want to know more about she would be like Arya's ventures.
Yeah, the mysteries of the lands, right? She leaves all the places that we've seen them film in before and goes exploring like weird islands and encountering crazy shit. And,
sure.
That would have been great. Jon Snow's going to be cold.
He's sexy. He'll be sexy.
He's sexy and cold.
I wonder what it's going to be before or after.
After.
Because it's going to be Kit Harington.
Right. Yeah. Kit Harington's doing it. So this is post Game of Thrones.
He stays sober.
He goes, yeah, I hope so too. He's back to the north. He's a full-on wildling now, I guess. Maybe the king of the wildlings. I don't know. But he's kind of banished there. So everything that's happening in that show will be north of the wall, which means a lot of white. And I don't know what else. We don't know what to expect. I mean, maybe there will be some really interesting stuff. Like on the maps of Westeros, you don't really get to see much. You know that north of the wall just goes and goes and goes. And we don't know how far it goes, and we don't know what's there. I mean, maybe some people do. We can ask Lore Master Kevin sometime, but I don't know. I mean, it's fine, I guess. I'll watch it. I know you'll watch it because you're going to hope he'll do another hot spring bath at some point.
Well, I mean, maybe we can get verification. Maybe he'll talk about it. When is this coming out?
Oh, it's in development right now. So probably
maybe
at least a couple years.
And it's going to be
never, right. Yeah,
via HBO?
Yeah, HBO could cut that shit in a second. I mean, they're supposedly developing that animated series too that we don't know anything about. They're supposedly developing a Dunk and Egg series.
Right.
That we don't know anything about. So
we'll
see.
Now they've got Discovery CEO. Psh. All bets are off.
There's only one silver lining of the Discovery merger for me, which is once they do an app merge, maybe I can go back and watch old Mythbusters shows because I really love that show. But that's
you're right. I like Discovery. I'm just very surprised.
I'm shocked that they had the oomph to like be the ones that took over.
Yeah.
Well, they bought HBO from AT&T.
But Discovery? I mean, they must own other things that we just don't even know about.
I'm sure they do. Mm-hmm. But I mean, there's billions of dollars floating around there, but they're not making enough money. So they got to make some cuts. Fuck with stuff we like.
Yeah. There's a lot on their app, but nothing I want to watch.
They're also the home for all the DC content, which, we got Peacemaker out of that, which was great.
That was the best DC movie that has ever been made.
Now and it wasn't even a movie.
Or
show. Yeah. But yeah, totally. I mean, of anything that they've done in the last decade or more. Yeah. Far and away the best. James Gunn, who made Peacemaker, is taking over the DC universe, but that has come with some bad news for you. We've learned that no more Henry Cavill Superman.
Right.
And speaking of Henry Cavill, I've been trying to keep this news from you.
What?
Until we finally recorded a podcast. But then a couple different friends started fucking just asking about it like assholes. No offense. So the other news about Henry Cavill was The Witcher.
Yeah.
Witcher season 3 is coming.
This is so stupid.
Witcher's been renewed for season 4, but season 4 will not have Henry Cavill. Now, I don't think he's been fired. Like, we don't know the actual details. But stuff that leaks out from behind the scenes says that he wasn't actually very happy with the show.
Really?
Because he's a huge Witcher fan of the books and the video games and all that stuff. And I've seen a lot on Reddit plenty of times of people complaining about how they've taken the show in directions that they do not like. And I think Henry Cavill might have also been having some problems with that, with some of the characterization of Geralt. And I gotta say, I recently gave you the first 2 Witcher books because you said you wanted something to read. You haven't started them yet.
I don't even know where they're at.
They're sitting right there on top of your dresser. I can see them right now.
Okay. I believe you.
But I will say one of the notes that I had taken over and over again when I was listening to the first book, especially, was like Geralt shows a lot more humanity when it comes to things like Jaskier. Like he was a dick to Jaskier through the whole first season. And Jaskier, maybe, an acquired taste. But like, no, they were friends. Like he, in the first book, which has almost all the same stories that are in the first season of the show. More. Yeah, I think you'll love the character more for sure. And you can picture Henry Cavill in your head while you read.
Sure.
But like they were friends and they didn't always agree on everything. But they were friends. Like it wasn't that adversarial relationship all the time like we saw.
He was just a pain in the ass to Geralt.
Right. And Geralt, was like at least very verbally abusive to him. Yeah. And I think even hit him a couple times. Not the same kind of thing at all. So I think maybe some of the stuff like that might have pushed Henry Cavill to say like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore, you guys. And maybe it was mutual. I don't know. But the other news was, for you Henry Cavill fans like Jennifer, he will be in a new show that he's developing and will star in based in the Warhammer 40K universe, which is going to be like hard sci-fi. Well, like sci-fi with some magic and some level of like demons and shit. Like there's a supernatural element to it, because Warhammer itself is a high fantasy game, and then Warhammer 40K, these are like tabletop miniatures games that have been around for many decades, for those of you that are not aware. like real hardcore nerd shit that even I, for as big of a nerd as I am, have only like dipped a toe into ever. Like really hardcore shit. But Henry Cavill is a lover of that stuff too. Plays miniatures games in between all those fucking workouts. Asshole. So he's developing this show, but it is so like there's a fantasy background, and then this universe 40,000 years later or whatever is also got spaceships and you know, guys in power armor.
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
It's going to be worth watching, at least checking out. But that's again probably 2 to 3 years away at the very least. But then we did. Now I watched The Peripheral. You watched the first couple episodes, but maybe it was your disinterest in TV, or maybe it was that show specifically, but you did not watch the rest with me. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it very much. It's a weird show, and it does fuck around with time a lot, which I'm having a hard time with, but something about the way they're doing it doesn't hurt me as much as the way Westworld did things when they were doing their timey-wimey shit. Like, I feel like The Peripheral's trying to explain it a little bit better by the end of the first season. They were kind of giving some reasoning for how the stuff they were doing worked. Cause it's like time travel, but only through the internet. It's kind of weird.
That is weird.
Yeah. But it's a neat show, and Chloe Grace Moretz is awesome. And the actor that plays her brother, he's pretty fun. And he's been in something. Anyway, I enjoyed that show. Maybe you'll come around someday. But then we can't do a full write-up on this, but we did watch the first two out of 4 episodes of The Witcher Blood Origin, which came out on Christmas Day. So we've watched a little bit of that. Thoughts so far? And hopefully we can go in depth sometime.
Well, I was disappointed not to see any sexy people.
Lark is pretty sexy, but you want a sexy guy.
She bugs, man.
What?
I don't know. Oh, no, I was thinking of Lark is nice, yes.
Oh, the Queen. You don't like the Queen.
I don't like the Queen.
I don't know. Something with an M.
Other. I mean, I like it because I really enjoy costumes, and I really enjoy
Yeah. The Queen's costumes are amazing. Like, you know, very strange and neat and unique.
Yeah, very strange. She used to be just a plain Jane, and now she's all weird and fancy.
She's an empress of sorts.
Yeah, I guess so. I like it. I just, I'm lacking my Geralt.
You were saying today that you thought they were trying to modernize the language a little much.
Right. They are modern. It's like they're in today's world now.
I kind of agree with you. And then I was trying to think, I mean, I kind of feel like Geralt throws a lot of casual fucks around in the books too. I don't know about everybody else, but I feel like I feel like the books have pretty coarse language, but it's been a while, so I don't remember. And I've only read the first 2 books.
Yeah, it's not just that though.
Well, there was one thing that bugged me a lot, and you might have been looking down because you were painting at the same time as we were watching, but there was these wanted posters.
No, I saw those.
With the one with the dick on his face.
Oh, I didn't see a dick.
Yeah, there was one where like someone had taken the guy's wanted poster and drawn like in like gold, like golden shiny ink, like a dick and balls on his face. And that was where I was like, nope, Jennifer's right. They're trying too hard to like put in like modern relevant ish jokes.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that was unfortunate.
So I don't enjoy that.
There's some good action.
It takes me out of the, what's the believability or whatever it's called. What is it called?
The what ability?
Believability.
Oh, believability. Sure. Yeah. Some good action. And,
we saw a monster.
We saw one monster. I love an origin story. I was a little weirded out by the way that like the bad guy, what's his name? Starts with a B. I don't remember.
Baylor
or Balor, I think. I think I was saying Baylor, but I think they say Balor. The first time he activated one of those big obsidian pillars, it looked like he was doing it with an iPad. Like he has this magical tablet like that. And then it starts lighting up like it's got LED lights in it more than it has magic in it. That was a little weird, but I love that we're starting to see where this stuff comes from. He's trying to get chaos magic. We know the conjunction's going to happen and humans are going to invade and then ruin this lovely elven world. I'm looking forward to seeing that happen. I guess it's going to happen in 2 more episodes, or maybe there's going to be some other follow-up to come. I don't know. We got to see Jaskier for a minute.
Yeah, I don't like Jaskier anymore.
Why not?
I don't know.
Because he was all bloody in the face?
No, I don't know. I just don't.
I'm sorry. But, we'll if we come back soon, we'll do a more in-depth on The Witcher Blood Origin. I think that could be fun to try to analyze. Speaking of amazing action scenes, we did last night with our friends. Shout out Kim and Eric, who has been keeping a flame alive in his heart for the return of this podcast.
Mm-hmm. He wanted to know what we thought about something. I don't remember what it was.
Fuck. Well,
sorry, Eric.
Now's not a good time to ask that question, but with them, we watched Violent Night.
Oh, that was great.
Best Christmas movie ever.
Yes.
I'm just saying that. And you,
yes.
I mean, you like Christmas on a level completely different from me, but
of course.
But as Christmas movies go,
best Christmas movie ever.
We laughed. There was amazing action scenes and
a couple of gross,
some gore.
And it was heartwarming.
It was, what did we decide? It was John Wick meets Die Hard meets Home Alone. Mm-hmm. And then I think there was a 4th entry in there. Maybe Elf. I don't know.
No.
But wow, what a movie. Loved it. No real complaints except like it took Santa a little longer than I would have liked to get warmed up.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Like half the movie was over and then he finally came into his own.
They're trying to draw these movies out longer and longer with extra shit we don't need to see.
It came in under 2 hours.
I can't sit that long. I gotta pee.
Great story. I wish we would have gotten a better resolution with the truly evil family that sort of just gets away with it all in the end. We can see they have a cute little girl who believes in Santa. Beverly D'Angelo played a wonderfully awful person. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but just so much fun. Much fun.
Funny and gross. And I mean, it was good.
Can't give it higher. Like we watched Black Adam. That movie was like, eh. And I love superhero movies, but even for me, that movie was like not a super easy watch. But then Henry Cavill came in at the very end, just for like a second. Yeah. But this was, and The Menu.
So Henry Cavill is not going to be playing Superman?
Apparently
that was a
not.
tease.
They teased it out before James Gunn took over.
Oh.
James Gunn came in and said, we're restarting everything. And now Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill and Gal Gadot are thinking about suing Warner Brothers for breaching their contracts to do more movies, including Ben Affleck was supposed to get to direct one of his own Batman movies.
Wow. That's something.
That's not for sure yet, but apparently they're in discussions about possibly suing Warner Brothers. So that's something.
That's interesting.
And then the other theater trip was The Menu, which you did not like, but I did. I really enjoyed it because it was so weird. And I know a couple people that are like real intense foodies and really into the stuff that they were talking about in this movie. And it was kind of fun to see that all that stuff just gets shit on. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. It was a funny movie, had a lot of weird stuff, not quite a horror movie, kind of a thriller, I guess. But I liked it. I gave it a thumbs up. Thumbs down to Black Adam. Not really worth it in my time. But thumbs up to The Menu and huge just thumbs and dick in the air for Violent Night.
Wow.
That made me turgid. It was awesome.
Wow. Well, I don't think it made me
too bad there's always a dog sitting between us on the couch. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know, Paul. What? It's a weird time. I don't know.
All right. We made an hour, babe.
Good.
Yep. Good job.
Okay.
It's nice to have you back in front of a microphone.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it won't be too long before we return. And when we return, we'll try to have some kind of agenda for when we're going to go really deep into House of the Dragon, maybe Blood Origin and see what else is on the horizon.
Cool.
But most important thing, babe, and I think our audience would agree, is you need to take care of yourself.
I'm trying. I'm going to try. I'm going to try. I promise.
And
I'm still getting over all of this.
Right,
I mean, my mom died December 13th, so that was just 2 weeks ago.
Right. And things will keep getting easier for you as these weeks go. So.
Oh, yeah. I was convinced that I killed her at first. I mean, I still feel like I did, but she would have died.
I don't think you really swayed it.
I think she was dying right when, but I feel like I never mind. Anyway. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. I love you. I know our audience loves you. So.
I love you. You love me. But I don't like Matt Damon.
Matt Smith, I'm so sorry. You're not looking good.
You did not make the cut.
No, you did not make the cut in the Pod of Thrones world. But if you ever want to come on and talk about it, you give us a call.
Yeah.
If you do want to reach out, of course, you can find me on Twitter still. Boy, we should talk about Twitter sometime. At Pod of Thrones or Jeff at podofthrones.com.
Jennifer at podofthrones.com or...
Do you even check Twitter?
No.
No, so don't bother. So if you want to talk to her, Jennifer at podofthrones.com is still there. If anyone wants to chat with her.
Yes, please.
Not so much on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe someday we'll start TikToking.
We have a Facebook.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Every once in a while we hear from someone on Facebook.
Yeah.
I owe Iego a message. He said he was,
Hi, Iego.
he was checking in. But he'll be happy to see a pod's up. So that'll make me, that'll make everyone feel better.
Well, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. If we have any Kwanzaa celebrators
all
out there.
All of the other things that I don't know.
Yep. All right. Take care, everybody. Hopefully we will be back soon.
Bye for now.